All right. Out of my curiosity, where's your motivation level right now? Because you know you're graduating soon for most of you, and I get a feeling that your motivation level to complete work isn't as high as it once was. Yes, true? Because you just want to get it done, right? Yeah? I don't know what you're So I've designed the remainder of our classes after this, well, even today's class, where even the labs, I'm walking you through it. So it's not so much you coding independently, coming up with your own stuff. Like there's a few stuff that you have to do. But, so I realize that, and I feel you. So a couple of announcements. I've yet again updated the syllabus. But the bigger announcement is assignment number 2 is now up. Yes, so I'm going to walk you through assignment number 2. So for Blackboard, if you go under assignments, you should see something like this now. Okay. Let me run my template of that. So let me open up Visual Studio Code. Let me just open a folder of my that one. Okay, let me run a local server. Go live. Okay, so this is what it's gonna kind of look like. And there's 15 spots that you have to fill in the JSON data. Okay, I've already filled in 3 just for showing you now. So basically each card links to a different exercise or lab you've already done in this course. So let me show you the first one. I think I showed you this last time too. So here's the storyboard. Click on view. And oh shoot, I think I missed the PDF. But last week there was a PDF there. Which 3 did I use now? I forget. Portfolio, JSON, what did I use? I filled in SVG bending line. Oh, that's another thing I have to mention because I misled you last week. Oh, so the only one I didn't do 3, I just did 1. The SVG bending line, and this is why. So last week I misled you. So here, remember last week I said if you don't want this CodePen header, go to the change view debug mode. I realized that this only works if I'm currently logged into CodePen. So like a future employer can't view your debug mode view. So we'll just change it up. Instead of debug mode, just use the full page view. Yes, you'll have the CodePen header, but it's still essentially there. Okay. So let's walk through this assignment here. So using all that you've created so far, you're creating an e-portfolio that demonstrates to future employers your abilities in motion graphics and your communication abilities as you explain your web animations. So the instructions are download the attached zip template, which is the Bootstrap template that I got. And I edited the JavaScript as well. So all you have to do is just fill in the portfolio.js, which is a JSON file. Unzip it, open up in your editor. You're going to run a local server. This is important. You have to run a local server. Otherwise, my JS code won't work because I put it under the type of module. Also, I've changed the template to automatically display your animations based on what you type in portfolio.js. So portfolio.js looks like this, as I showed you before. Now, I did last week, there were only 3 fields. This week, or for this assignment, I changed it to 5 fields. So you have to fill in these 3 for each set. You have to fill in tech, description, URL. So I gave you the title and the purpose for each one so that it already shows on the web page card right there, right? Here's the title, here's the purpose. You can edit that if you want. So the next thing is, so you're editing the JSON portfolio file. I notice the font color for this line, title and purpose is grayed out because I've already done this for you. So just pay attention to the tech, description, URL. So what is tech? Tech is you're listing what technology or what links or CodePen tools you used to make your animation. Perhaps you can list all the links where you got your ingredients. So for example, the bending line, we used this tool that allowed us to make the line. We could link that. thinking I had behind this was, remember back in elementary school when you had to do science projects? Did you do science projects, Bob? Yeah. And so you had like purpose, materials, method, like something in conclusion. I kind of wanted that for this. So that's the purpose of this. Text was like, think of tech as like materials. And think of description as method. But also realize that your future employer who may look at this may be assessing your communication skills and critical thinking skills here. So try to make it show off how you think and how you communicate. And the URL is, again, it could be a local index.html, or it could be a PDF, or it could be a link to your CodePen. But again, if it is CodePen, just make sure you say change view and select full page view and not the debug view, which I said last week, because that won't work if you're not logged in. So here, for example, I've given, this is where I thought I had 3 examples. So here, I've given you 3 complete examples for 3 different cards. Okay, so you could use this if you want. Just change a little bit of, just change your description perhaps and change your URL for sure, right? But here, let's skip all the way down to the rubric. So there's 15 cards, and you'll notice here there's 15 criteria where you're linking to different exercises and labs that you've done before. Okay. However, notice that each one of them is marked out of 2. And I made a little note here down below of how I mark each card out of 2. So to get full marks of 2 out of 2 for each JSON data, you have to have the URL field completed, and that lab or exercise should be previously submitted. Otherwise, a mark of 0 is given. And so, for example, the tech description, whatever you type there, that'll be worth 0.5. The description will be worth 1. And the URL will be worth 0.5. But here's the catch. If you don't give a URL, or if the URL does not match the work or code you've previously submitted for that particular lab or exercises, then it overrides everything else above, and you get 0 out of 2 for the whole thing. And that should prevent, handing in assignment number 2 with basically nothing, everything but the URLs, because that wouldn't make sense. Okay. So that is it. Any questions on that? So really, I've designed this assignment, if you think about it, I've really designed this assignment for you that if you don't complete the weekly exercises and labs, then it'll be hard for you to make this, to finish this assignment. But if you've been doing submitting stuff weekly, pretty much, I think you'll find this pretty easy. All right, so that's that. Yeah, question. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so everything's like due on the same day of April 16 at midnight. No, this is stuff from the first half too. So no. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, then yeah, do that. Yeah, for something like a sprite animation, where you're doing the Twitter, or you're showing off your Twitter like button kind of thing, or your spinner, your keyframes, where you have your initials spinning around using animation keyframes, whatever. Yeah, do that. We don't need that. Okay, so we're gonna complete GreenSock today, and just here's our map. Again, we're here, but we've already touched a lot on SVG, and we've completed that land. And we're just going to finish off of GreenSock. And then next week, we're going to jump onto Adobe Animate, this over here, I believe. Okay, so things to do today. We're going to just learn 3 more important plugins that I think you should know that GreenSock offers. Then we're going to learn how GreenSock allows you to create an animation along a path. So that's kind of neat. It allows you to basically define a path using SVG path data, just like last week where you made your own kind of curve with a bendy line, and you can make something travel along that line now using GreenSock. And just a little bit about how GSAP licensing, just to know the ins and outs of that. Okay, so this first half of class, I've designed it so that the in-class exercise that you're about to submit to me is divided into 3 things. So in the end, you're going to give me 3 CodePen links. Okay. So this is going to be the first one on drawSVG. So drawSVG plugin, this is kind of similar to the Morph SVG from last time, except it just draws the line. So for example, if I run this pen here, there's an SVG in the background, and it's kind of drawing the line, similar to your assignment 1, where you drew the door. Yeah. So this is what that is. So drawSVG plugin allows you to progressively reveal or even hide the stroke of an SVG path. And you can even animate outward from the center of the stroke or any position or segment of that stroke. And it does this by controlling the stroke-offset and the stroke-array CSS properties. So let's check out this link here. Oops, I didn't want that. I want a new tab. Open a new tab. So here's GreenSock's documentation on drawSVG. And the one I want you to focus on is this example here. So here is how you would use it. This would appear in your curly brackets, just like X colon 100, Y colon 100, drawSVG colon whatever you see here. So here, drawSVG is set to 100%, and that means the whole line is drawn. Let's see what happens for the next example. You could also say here, for example, you could say drawSVG 40% to 60%. So if this line is 100%, this value of 40% is where it starts drawing, which is around there. So before that, it's all hidden. And then it'll draw the line until the end, which in this case is 60%. So you could also use drawSVG like that. Here's another example. You can use absolute values. Now here, I'm not sure what the length is over here, but obviously if you knew that length, then you could say, start at 20 and then end at 350, which happens to be there. So you could use absolute values as well. Oops, I missed one. There. You could also say this, start at 50% and end at 50%, which is like right in the middle, which means it's not going to draw anything. But you would use this if you wanted the animation to start from the middle of the line instead of the beginning of the line, which is kind of neat. And then the last example is drawSVG true. So there's just a Boolean value, and it'll just like a drawSVG 100%, you could draw the whole thing. Okay. So remember this. So back in week 1 or week 2, I mentioned a story behind this SVG being drawn. And the story was, when the Xbox One was originally created, how does this one article company compete with dozens of other article company websites that already published articles on Xbox One? And they stumbled upon this neat way to draw the Xbox One using this method. And so we're going to try to recreate that now using GreenSock's drawSVG. So we're just going to grab the SVG from their webpage, which is purely static. There's no animation on it. And then we'll use GreenSock drawSVG to try to emulate that kind of thing. Okay. So step 1 here. So if you have my slides handy. So again, this will be part 1 of 3 for your in-class exercise 10. So at the end of the day, you're basically going to submit your CodePen link to this example that we're about to do now, as well as 2 additional links right after. Okay. So fork my CodePen. Let's open up my CodePen. And you can see in the comments here, we're gonna do that. All right. So step 1 says, let's get the SVG markup from the original web page. So I put the original link right here, or in my slide, I believe in step 2, I say get SVG from here, which is the same thing. So that should get you to the original web page that had that. So here's the original web page, right? So let's grab this SVG. So let's right click on that, inspect. And that should take you right to the SVG markup, which it's highlighted for me. That's good. So let's copy that element. So right click on that element that's highlighted, select the copy, and then we're going to choose copy element. And you're basically going to paste it in your code pen. But I'll just leave the screen up for a few more seconds just to make sure everyone's caught up. So we right clicked the Xbox, inspect, right click the highlighted SVG markup, selected copy, and then selected copy element. Okay, so I selected copy element. I don't need this page anymore. Actually, I'll leave that up. And then I'm just going to paste it in my HTML section in my code pen. So there it is. It looks like that, which is kind of crazy. Why does it look like that? Okay, so step 2 in my comments for the HTML section. You may have noticed that the image isn't quite centered. Let's fix it. And I say here margin top is 0. So I think the answer in this case is that if you scroll to the very top of your markup, the SVG tag has a style attribute where the margin top is negative something. So just change that negative whatever to 0. And that should fix it. Oh, oh yeah, I should magnify. So I said the SVG tag at the near the top when you pasted it, the style attribute has a margin top of some value of negative value, and I'm just saying change that negative value to 0, and that should, make the image. You should be able to see the whole image now, kind of thing. Okay. Now, why does it look black? And we'll get to that. So that was step 2. Step 3, which is in the CSS section. So if you open up the CSS section for a second, we're going to try to emulate the original web page. So notice here's the original web page, right? It has like a green background. Actually, what kind of green is this? I'm curious. Let's say here, there it is. So let's copy that background color green, or you could just say green, whatever. So step 3 is make the body's background color green. So let's do that in the CSS. Body, background color. And here you could say green if you want, right? And look like that. I'm going to see if I can use the exact color, which is that. All right. Now, so the image is all black. Question, why is it all black and how do we fix it? Yeah. Doesn't have any lines on it. Is that what he said? Yeah. Yeah. So it took me a little while for me to kind of figure out what's going on. But when I go back to my the original web page and I inspect the SVG, I looked at the styles here on the right-hand side, and I noticed a couple of things. Right here, for this class, wire wrapper, I noticed 2 things. The fill is set to none, which we don't have. And the stroke over here is set to white. So let's try that out. So in my CSS section, I'm going to say wire wrapper fill is set to none. So so as soon as I say fill is set to none, you don't see the Xbox anymore. But then if I say stroke is white, there you go. So now it looks like that. And as I'm writing this right now, I realize I contradicted myself from last week, because last week I said there's no such thing as fill in CSS. Well, yes, there is. So totally forgetting already. Okay, so the next step, now that we have all the white lines, the next step is the JS. So if you go to your JS section, step 6, let's insert the necessary libraries. So let's insert GreenSock. So click on the gear icon is one way to do it. Search for TweenMax or search for GSAP. And then you'll choose this one, GSAP, which is basically TweenMax. Save and close. That was step 6. Step 7 is copy GreenSock's drawSVG plugin. So this is drawSVG is one of those paid plugins. So I put the link here, or in my slides, I also put the link here for step 3. So if you open up that link, should take you here, and drawSVG is right there. So copy that link. So you can just click on copy so that you've copied the whole line, and include that in your JS. So in your JS section of CodePen, click the gear icon. So underneath the TweenMax library, you can paste in the drawSVG library and save and close. So now that we've done step 6 and 7, let's see if we can make this work. I say in step 8, let's look at the documentation of drawSVG plugins. So I've put that link here. So if you open that link up, where is the magic line that says how to work this? Let's scroll down a little bit until we find the magic line. Oh, there we go. I think it's this one. You could say something like this, TweenLight 2. Or this is probably better. How do I animate many strokes and stagger animations? And the answer is this, TweenMax.stagger from. So highlight this, and let's just copy this line of code, and we'll change it accordingly. So TweenMax.stagger from, and the draw me. So let's copy all that. Okay, now let's go into our JS code, and let's paste that in. I'm going to wait. I'm going to let you have the fun. And so take a couple of minutes and try to adjust what you need to adjust to make this thing work. Okay? So before we take it out, I want you to try it. So obviously you have to change the draw me in there to something else. So take like 1 minute. See if you can make it work. Keep in mind, the method stagger from needs multiple elements, not one element. So whatever you put in the draw me section there, has to be multiple. No, I don't think so. Anyone get it? Yeah, Matt, what'd you do? Yeah, right, because if you look at the HTML, you have all these different path tags. So I know they don't have IDs or classes on it, but that's okay. You could still select it just like CSS. So let's change the draw me to path. So it's selecting all the paths, and now it should do something similar to the original web page. Cool. Maybe it's a little bit slow. Maybe instead of 2 seconds, instead of the duration being 2 seconds, I'll maybe change it to 1. Maybe it'll be a little faster, hopefully. Right? Cool. Okay, at this point, this is basically complete. You could submit this for in class, but this is what I want you to experiment with. I want you to play with the different ways you can say this value of drawSVG. So remember, what was it? This one here, this page here, where you had all these different examples of 10%, 100%, 40, 60, 20. I want you to go through all of these examples yourself, using those examples, or maybe changing the numbers slightly, just to play with it, just to see what it does. And the question I have for you is, what looks most beautiful? So as you're going through here, I think there's one that you'll agree that, oh, that one's sweet. Okay. So change your drawSVG 0 to a bunch of other things. See which one looks really cool. Yes. It was the 50%. Yeah. So try the 50. Let's try it right now. So quote. Instead of drawSVG 0, I'll say 50%, 50%, and then look how nice it. Boom, from the middle. Remember how I said if you use that 50/50, it comes from the middle. It animates from the middle. Yes, for that line, Yeah, so for each line, for each path, it starts in the middle of that path. Yeah, so if I say right now, quote, 2360, look at that, it's only for each path, it's only showing a particular segment, but not the whole segment. Right, so you can notice there's some things here that's, it just looks weird, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, you got it. Okay, cool. So that was drawSVG. So save that link or keep that tab open because you'll be submitting that in a second. But now we're going to move on to the second plugin called SplitText. So GreenSock has another paid plugin called SplitText. It's kind of like the morphSVG, but instead it's with text, with characters, with words. So here's their example. If I'm going to click on Run Pen to see what it can do, and there it is. Let me do that again. Okay. I'm going to play this first 30 seconds of their video on their webpage, just so to give you a full sense of what it can do. Let's magnify this one. Introduce you to SplitText. SplitText makes it easy to break apart the text in any HTML element so that each character, word, and/or line is wrapped in its own div tag. You pair SplitText with GreenSock's animation tools, you'll find yourself creating impressive text effects in no time. That's basically it. Okay, so that's what I want to show you. So that's you get a quick sense of what it can do. So again, you can easily split and revert the same text in different ways or multiple times. It's great because it works back all the way to IE8. You can set the CSS position for each character if you wanted to relative or absolute. It honors natural line breaks without you having to add break tags. And you can apply new classes to different lines or words or characters. So this is part 2 of 3 for the in-class exercise. So you're going to hand this in too. So I got this from the assignment number 2, just the banner or the hero part. So fork that code pen, and that's the link you'll submit for in-class in a second. And let's do the steps as outlined in the comments. Okay. So step 0, let's include the necessary libraries. So include TweenMax. So let's search for TweenMax this time. GSAP, save and close. And let's get the SplitText plugin. Where's that link that gives me all those things? I put it in the slide. So step 3 here in the slide, it says get SplitText plugin. Or you could just Google CodePen plugins, GreenSock, or something like that. So here it is. So this time we're interested in the SplitText. So let's copy, there it is, SplitText. So let's copy that. And let's include it in our CodePen. So underneath the TweenMax, that's already there. Let's paste in what we just copied. So now the SplitText is beneath that. Save and close. So what we want to do is we want to animate this text right here that I'm highlighting. So we just want from something all the way to the entirely. Let's see how that looks. So step 1, declare a new constructor for SplitText. How do we do that? Let's everyone just copy this. So let's say const my SplitText equals. Is this? Okay, I should magnify it more. How's that? Is that okay? Or yeah, okay. Equals new split text bracket bracket, and then inside here I'm going to select something. And I want to say something like this, quote. Now we haven't actually added that ID yet. We're going to do that in a second. I have, okay, so I forgot to delete that for this exercise. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. ID is quote. See, that's what happens when you're trying to create exercises. Like you do this thing, it works, and you try to delete it, and then you forget to delete some. And last year was crazy because I I didn't delete anything last year. So I was like, oh, you have the answer. Never mind. Okay. Just by this alone, this is what I want you to do. It hasn't done anything, right? But in the step here, step 3, I want you to inspect the quote to see what happened. So basically, hover your mouse cursor over the text, and this time, right-click and inspect it to see what happened under the hood. And you'll see something wild. What did it do? It gave a div to every single letter. It gave a div to every single word, right? And I believe, I think that was it. By default, that's what it does. Very interesting. Very interesting. So if we don't specify anything, it splits it into characters, lines, and words. However, we can specify something, and that's where we can pass in a configuration object. So let's pass in a configuration object. So let's put a quote, let's put a comma after this quote, and we're going to pass in an object. And we're going to say this. We're going to, instead of words, characters, and lines, we just want words and characters. So how do we say that? We say type. So the key is type. The value is words, comma, chars. Okay. What else do I want to say here? Let's try that out. So let's save that, and this time, if you inspect it, you should see a slight difference in terms of how it divided it. Okay. Step. Now notice when you inspect it, what is the position? Sorry. For each letter, what is the position? Relative. Let's change that to absolute. How do you change that? Like this. So after the type, we'll just say position, absolute. Save that. Now inspect what you have. Now it changes to absolute. Let's console log my SplitText, but in the following way. So I want you to say this. Console, so underneath that your line of code, say console log, and we're going to console log my SplitText dot words. Okay. So now if you go to your page and inspect the page, look at your console, you should see this array of 29. And if you inspect it, you should see all these div tags. So let's just inspect the first div tag. What word do you anticipate should be there? Something. And how about the last word? The last div tag should be this one entirely. Let's see if that's true. So go ahead and see, explore. So open up the first div. Oh, it looks like regular div tag. So which key would you look at to find the word something? Answer. What was that? Word? Really? No. No, it's right here. Text content. Remember that? Our good old friend text content. Right? So text content equals something. And if we check our last one, our last div tag, so where it says 28 div, it should be for text content entirely, which it is. Okay. That was words. Similarly, you could do something like mySplitText.cars and see the same thing, but we're going to move on. So just delete your whole console log statement, and we're going to finally animate this thing. So here's how to animate it. Tween max dot, or we'll use the stagger from, right? And because stagger needs multiple elements, like an array of multiple, we have that. We have mySplitText dots, whatever you want. So in our example, we'll just say cars. So this will give us an array of all the characters. Let's put like 0.5 for the duration. And then for the options, let's put in a bunch like this. We want each character to start with an opacity of 0. So it's going to be invisible. We want each character to have a rotation of maybe 180. Maybe we'll have a transform y, or just say y, to like minus 100. We'll have an easing of back ease out. And then finally, the final thing is the actual delay. So after the whole object, after the curly bracket, you're going to say comma 0.02, I think. And you get something cool. Something that looks like this. Isn't that cool? So traditionally, and you did the lab yesterday with the banner ad, Greenstock banner ad, where you had to split each character up into its own div or span tag. And traditionally, that's what you would have to do to do this, but Greenstock makes it so much easier, and it gets rid of inherent problems that come with separating each letter with div and span tags. So this, in a nutshell, is it for your exercise part 2. So keep this tab open. You're going to submit this CodePen link. So make sure you save it. Make sure you submit this CodePen link in a second, along with the first CodePen link that you did, because we're going to move on to the third one. Oh, go back. Yeah. This one. Okay. You're probably messing up this last one here. Make sure it's in the right place. Something about your ease. Is there a comma before that? What does, if you right click your web page and say inspect, what error message does it say in the console? At the very last one. Yeah, so it's probably, yeah, I'm missing a bracket somewhere. I'm sure it's something simple. Do you want me to come over? Yeah, you got it? Yeah, we're good? Okay, good. Cool. Any other questions, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, let me come there.
It is splitting all of these. All right. So
Let me see your
we got tween the text. Pressing and nothing's happening.
Oh, quotes.
Quotes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Oh, sorry. I got it. You got it there? All right. We're going to move on to the third and final one. So keep those two CodePens handy. So the third one is this one. And this is not a paid plugin. This is, but you do need a CDN link for this. So it's called Draggable. Let's see here. So Draggable can make DOM elements spinnable, tossable, draggable, or flick scrollable. You can impose bounds or its boundaries. You can define complex snapping rules and have things glide to a stop in a silky smooth way, all with as little as one line of code. So here, I'm going to try flicking this or throwing this because we're actually using two things here. We're using Draggable and something else called throw props, which allows you to do this kind of thing. Actually, it looks kind of cool. If you open this up, actually, don't open that up. Yeah. Click on the documentation. So click on the green sock docs, which takes you to their webpage. It's actually better. Okay, so you can just try throwing the things around and see how it reacts. And notice the physics that it has for Draggable and throw props. So this has both Draggable and throw props. We're not going to use throw props, but that's just so you know it's there. Let's play with the checkboxes down below here. So notice here there's a snap end position to grid. Check that and now see how it changed the behavior. So I check that, and now if I try to place the box where it's not inside the rectangle, it'll actually move to the closest rectangle. Cool, right? Okay, let's take away that check mark. And this time, let's say live snap. Let's see what just check mark live snap and see what that does. Oh, interesting. So I'm dragging it, but it actually doesn't drag until my mouse is over the next rectangle. Okay, let's take away that check mark, and this time check the lock access and see how that differs. And try moving it vertically, then try moving it horizontally, and try moving it diagonally. So hopefully you understand what each of those options do. And you'll notice the code down below where it says, this is the one line of code you need to create it. You say draggable.create, put in your elements, and for the type, you can say something like type x comma y, and then you put in all your options. Okay. Scroll down one more example below where you have this spinner. So you can also have a draggable that looks like this. Kind of cool. The only difference is when you in the code, you say draggable.create, and for the type, instead of type XY, you say type rotation. That's it. Okay. So that's in essence was what Draggable is. So next slide over is the final in-class exercise. Oh wait, this assumes you've already done your lab 8, which I know some of you haven't. But as long as you have some kind of animation in your lab 8, even though you may not have handed it in, as long as you have like any kind of movement, this should work. I may have to change, well, we'll see how this goes. I may have to change it to something else. So, okay, show of hands who has not handed in their lab 8 yet. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to change the requirement for this to say, just hand in what I have. So lab 3, in class 3. Oh, okay, I just say 3 code, okay, fine. So really, create Draggable. Give me a second here. Index, Draggable, create Draggable. I'll just say delete that, save that, there. And refresh, and we're good. So there you go. So you just have to create a Draggable. You don't have to use your lab 8. Before I quickly forget, I'm going to push it. And also upload that site manager. public. And I want this. Let's overwrite, and we're good. Okay. So let's fork this code pen, and you can just hand this in. Oh shoot, did I forget to delete code on this? No, okay, I'm good, I'm good. Okay, so just as a reminder, here was my animation that I did for lab 8, and notice I already put here an image of that same scroll bar from Greenstock. So we're gonna create a draggable so that when you drag this wheel around, it will affect this hot air balloon. So how do we do that? First, we need to grab the DOM element for this image. And if you look closely at the HTML, I called it at the very bottom. I called it wheel. So it has an ID of wheel. So let's grab that. So underneath the comment create draggable, let's put in our code. Const, I should magnify this too. Const wheel equals document query selector wheel. So we got that image now. I'm just gonna set the transform origin to 50%, 50% on that. So you can do that, say, by saying tween max. Oh, do I have to? Yeah, of course. So tween max dot set, and we're gonna pass in the DOM element of wheel, and we'll say transform origin 50%, 50%, just so that it should turn in the middle. And here's the one line of code that Draggable offers you. So draggable.create. We're going to pass in our wheel and then a bunch of properties. Now, I'm going to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to type in around 8 lines of code. So let's open up that options bracket and type the following. So for the type, it's going to be rotation. Remember from the documentation, you could have type of X, comma Y if you want it, going horizontally or whatever. Or if you want the wheel, you can say type rotation. Then we're going to say bounds. So this is where we're going to define the minimum and the maximum values for that wheel. So the key is called bounds. The value will be an object. I'm going to open up that object up and say the min rotation will be 0, and the max rotation will be 360. Put a comma after that. Bounds. And then Draggable has this function called onDrag that is called every time you turn the wheel. Now here is where initially it didn't work for me this morning until I gave up and tried just using the hot air balloon, which worked for me. Initially, this is what I wanted. I wanted to use my master timeline. So when I scroll up, I have a master timeline which has everything. However, when I use the word master, it didn't work. So I ended up just using the hot air balloon instead, which is so this hot air balloon is a function that returns a timeline. So I'm just going to use that timeline instead of the master timeline. So initially I want to say this, master.progress this.rotation divided by 360, and then master.pause. Initially, I wanted to say this. It didn't work for me. So I ended up just using my hot air balloon. So I said hot air balloon, and I called the function. So I put in the bracket there. So this should control the hot air balloon. So I want you to try it. Try the wheel, see if it does. Yes? Right? And I don't know why it didn't work for the master timeline, but it does work for the other timelines. That one I'm still learning. Did anyone, show of hands who got this? Yeah, cool. Okay. Show of hands who needs more time? Okay, I'll keep it up on the screen for another couple minutes. This pause means as soon as I drag it, actually, hold on. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Good question, Matt. I'm going to comment out my pause statement and see if the behavior changes. See how it changes. It has to change, I would think. Oh yeah, see what happened there? So I comment out my pause. As soon as I turn it and stay still, it goes. But I haven't let go of the mouse yet. Where yeah, it pauses while it's being clicked. Yeah. Oh, you're right. So I don't know what the pause does then. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, you don't need that line then. Forget that line. Forget that line. Yeah. Cool. All right. And show of hands who needs more time before I close it up? Yeah, okay. Do you want me to come over? Yeah. Okay. So that's the top of the hour. So let's. This is what you need to do now. There is a quiz today. So go ahead and submit your inline exercise 10. So give me the 3 CodePen links if you've done them already. Then immediately do the quiz, which I'll give you 10 minutes to do. It's only 5 or 6 questions. And then you have your break. So in total, you got 30 minutes to do all of that. Okay? So we set the timer, 13 minutes. Do what you need to do. Today's fun on the run, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
You're quick. Yeah. You're quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting a chance to fry teriyaki. Oh, no downside.
What I was supposed to say yesterday, I was walking in class and I was chipped over chicken wing at home. Yeah. I was walking in class and I was chipped over a chicken wing in the hall. Tripped over a chicken wing in the hall. We're privy to your tricks now.
Like 6 or 8.
See if you play along. Right? It's not that bad. Thank you.
Oh, it doesn't go. Okay, okay, that's good. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah. How's that whole project going?
Oh, you know. Make it start. Yeah, good. That one. Second one. We'll work on that one. Oh, great. It's fine. Right? Right to the one. Google's CV and Draggable. CN is one.
You put a whole game on a the same one. Eat something, Roger.
Thanks up for letting you grab me.
Wow. Sorry. Make sure that your house is on that. So I can stop myself in my own grave.
Yeah. Well, in Maniac, so like, did you yeah. Oh, you did? No, but the whole process, no, yeah, the whole process was they're going to like a dream state. Each other.
Please go check them out. It's like a little bit.
I said, what? You ever watch that Christmas conversation? It's like all these like Christmas, or no, it's called Holiday. And it's all these like short horror stories based on each holiday. But it's like really. No, it's very weird. Like, it's problematic. Albert, is the end class going on as well?
Pretty
Or sorry,
much.
the lab.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a couple of things that I want you to try on your own, but yeah. All right. Commercial break. Here are some links that I found on Twitter that you might find of interest. There's this one link from CSS Tricks where he basically talks about spreadsheets. The whole spreadsheets as databases thing is pretty cool. And he highlights one particular product called, where is it here? This one. Anyone heard of this one? Airtable? I use it all the time. Airtable. Think of it as like a Google, Excel, but better, because let's take a look at some things here. Let me see if I can find. So the field types can be one of many, and it could be varied. But the cool thing is that I can't show you here, but Airtable has an API that allows you to get or set values in your table. And I've played with it before. It's pretty cool. If you just need something quick, check that out, Airtable. This came out last week. I thought it was kind of neat. Well, that's impressive and dang useful. So apparently this website allows you to remove background images. So here's your original image, and here's the finished product. That's pretty cool. And the final thing here is SVG filters. Did you know that you can create amazing Photoshop grade effects right in the browser using SVG filters? Why, yes, you can. And then she writes an article there. One thing I forgot to mention about the assignment. So I talked about the 15 card requirements, but I forgot about this one. So another requirement is to replace the current Bootstrap hero section with your own custom Adobe animation that you created for Lab 11. So initially, it had that text that you saw already with the exercise that looked like this. So replace this in your assignment too with the animation that you're about to create for Adobe Animate. And just a slight thing, you can use GreenSock's stagger method to stagger the appearance of each card upon page load. That's it. Okay. Just going to talk quickly about GreenSock licensing. So the core tools are free unless you charge people to access your site or app. Then you need the Club GreenSock membership, which you are required to pay money for that. So for example, if you are Wall Street Journal and you ask people to pay in order to read your site, then yes, you must pay for GreenSock Club membership. But if you don't charge people to access your site, then no, for the core tools. If you purchase the Club GreenSock membership, you get bonus tools such as the drawSVG and the morphSVG and SplitText. And there's more information about that on their site here. Pricing, what you get, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. I lost my slides. And just keep in mind GreenSock's core strength. It basically works everywhere, and it can be backwards compatible to basically IE 6 or 8 or something like that. It excels at complex storytelling animations, and there's no dependencies. It can work with jQuery, but it's not needed. GreenSock is funded, so it's not some kind of side project by some guy doing a hobby, and it has pretty good documentation and support. Okay, so this is the final thing that I wanted to teach is animation along a path. We're just going to watch basically 1 minute of this video to show you what it can do. Okay, so I'm going to forward the video to 646. Not that one. This one.
At GreenSock, we understand your needs as a developer, and you don't want to be playing this guessing game. So instead of setting the offset X and offset Y, which are useful at times, we have a better solution for you. Okay? We're going to pass in a line property this time, and we're going to just say, hey, use the balloon. What this means is that it's going to adjust all of the vegetative points so that the balloon automatically touches the line. Without any further ado, I'm going to create animation.
Notice it's the top left corner that's touching the line.
Now, I know what you're saying. You want to have the balloon centered around the line. The easiest way to do that without any guessing is just to use a like set. So take your balloon and use X% and Y% to offset it based on half its height and half its width going to Y axis. So now when we run, I say create animation. Now the center of the balloon perfectly follows the line.
There you go.
You don't have to do any math or any guesswork.
Cool. So that's what we're going to play around with, which is something we haven't done before. So I created this yesterday, and so we'll see how it goes. This is new. I've never taught this last year. So it's kind of teaching on the fly right now. So go ahead and fork this code pen. This will be your lab that you will submit to me. And you can see here, if you scroll down, there's some text there as well. So if you remember watching the Indiana Jones movies, where you got the plane traveling across the world, and so that's the kind of theme I was going for this one. Okay. So step 2 here is make your own path using your initials using SVG Builder. And we saw this tool before. So click on that link, SVG Builder, in my slides, which takes you back to this familiar web page. Right. And let's go ahead and click on the Reset Path button. So we're starting from scratch. And so we're going to create a path that the plane is going to travel, but I want you to create your own custom path based on your initials. You know, obviously it has to be one continuous line, so it's kind of like handwriting style. It's not going to look exactly like your letters, but that's okay. So I'm going to create AV right now. You create your initials, and let's see how this goes. I'll start from there. I'll control click here. So I control click to another point, and as soon as you control click to another point, you can play with these other point types like Q or C or A. Okay, so just make your own. So right now my plane is going to travel like that, then it's going to travel like that. Maybe I'll put in the curve. There you go. That's a nice curve. Star Trekky. And then now for the other letter, I'll do this and then use the letter point type of A to make it kind of rounded. And then I'll make the letter V. Maybe I'll make a nice little bend just to make it curvy, fancy. So there's my initials. Maybe actually I'm not liking this one. I'm gonna try the letter C. Ooh, that's nice. I'm curving it by playing with these different letters. So C, Q, L, A. Try Q, try C. Those are the best ones, I think. So my plane will hopefully travel this path. So keep in mind you can create this path in Adobe Illustrator or Sketch, as long as you have some kind of path data to work off of. Okay. So now that I have my initials, wait, show of hands who needs more time to make their initials? Okay, I'll wait. And you can imagine the benefit of something like this. I mean, trying to do this with CSS only, based on what we learned in the first half of the semester, would be like, wow, how many lines of code would that be, if at all possible, kind of thing. If you've already made your initials, then the next step is to grab your data right here at the bottom right corner. Actually, show of hands who needs more time to make their initials? Okay, all right. And you're eventually going to make a path with that data. Yeah, so everything here at the beginning of the letter M, I think, you're going to copy that whole thing, and we're going to paste it somewhere. Similar to that SVG bending line that we did week 8. Same kind of deal. All right, so I've copied the path data. I'm going to go back into my code pen. And I've actually given you some room here to paste it in. You'll notice if you scroll, you'll see the first path element here, but then you'll see a second path element here with a blank D attribute. That's where you're going to paste in the data. So right here, actually, maybe I'll magnify it. So here's my first path data, which is the plane. As you can see here, ID of plane. That's the plane. And then here, the second path data, where I say ID of motion path, notice there's a blank D attribute. So right now it says D equals space. So we're going to fill in that space by pasting in our data. And I've noticed here, I've already said fill is none, stroke width is 1 pixel, and stroke is the color green. So now you should see your initials. Let me zoom out. You should see your initials like so. Okay. Now we're going to try to make our plane fly that. So how do you do that? Let's go into our JavaScript. I believe I've included the libraries that you need. Let me just double check. So you should have a whole bunch of stuff. You should have TweenMax, as well as morphSVGs, drawSVG, and Draggable, and SplitText. I don't know why I included all that. Actually, I do know why I included drawSVG, Draggable, SplitText, but I don't know why I included morph. Anyways. So this is what we're going to do. We want to grab that path, which is, again, has the ID. Let's just scroll up here. Here has the ID of motion path. So we're going to grab that. And let's make a variable const initials, or maybe, yeah, I'll say autograph. That's my autograph right there. Const autograph equals, and this is something new. Morph SG plugin dot path data to Bezier. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, let me zoom in more. Okay, so inside the parentheses, first object will be a reference to our flight path, our initials, which currently has an ID of this one here. So this is what we just pasted in. So it has an ID of motion path. So let's put that as the first argument there. And the second one, so comma, and you're going to pass in an object now. So you need the curly braces. And this is where you just saw the video. To make it easy on yourself and not have to guess, this is where you just say align, colon, and then inside the quotes will be the plane. So if we look in our markup, in our HTML, I believe I labeled the plane with an ID tag of plane. So inside the line, I'm just going to say hashtag plane. So now we're going to use this autograph variable in next line. And all we're going to say is this. Tween max.to. And we're going to target the plane. And we're going to tell the plane, hey, plane, use this autograph as your path. So how do we do that? So let's say let's put like, how many seconds do you want the plane to travel along your path? I'll just put something longer, like 17 seconds. I don't know. Then I'm going to put in an object. And here inside this object is where you specify the path, your initials, your autograph. Okay, so I'm going to just open this bracket up. I'm going to say Bezier, colon, and then another object. Then inside that object, let me open that up. Say values, colon, and then the name of your thing, which is autograph. And oh, what is my plane doing? My plane is doing something. I'm not done yet. Okay, my plane is moving, but I'm not done yet. And after that, say type, colon, cubic Bezier. Get it? All right. And then that's it for now. That's it for now. There is more to come, but just look at what that alone does. Let me zoom out and just marvel at your glory. Right? You could never accomplish that with anything we've learned before. But now you can. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, that's cool. I want the plane, though, to maybe face the direction it's flying, right? Because right now it's always pointing to the right. No problem. Well, yes, yeah, that's right. So no problem. Just put a comma after your type cubic, and we're going to add in another thing here called auto rotate with a capital R for rotate. True. That's it. Now watch your plane fly. Isn't that freaking cool? With one line of code. Yes? Is everyone excited? Yes. Yes. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the culmination of this course right here. Okay. And maybe you might be thinking to yourself, okay, you know, you could adjust the transform origins just to make it more. Guess what? You don't even need side topic. Okay, what was the name of that motion path again? Motion. Oh yeah, motion path. Right. Check this out. In my CSS, I'm going to target my motion path. Play none. Right? It still works. The stroke 0? Yes. 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 And so for the lab that I wrote here, let me just quickly go here. And this is where I want you to try something before I take it up. So we've completed this, lab 10, step 1. This is what I want you to work on for the next 5 minutes before I take it up. So you just learned how to do drawSVG. Use drawSVG so that flight path, that green line, appears as the plane is traveling. So that line appears just behind or just beside or close to the plane as that plane is traveling, which is similar to the Indiana Jones movie. Get it? Try it for the next 5 minutes. Oh, I forgot to mention. You may have noticed. Oh, no, never mind. It's all good, never mind. In my actual finished code, I actually included the Indiana Jones music background, theme music as your plane is flying. Hint. Okay, so now I totally rewrote this not using tween max, but rather timeline max. But I'm going to try it just with tween max just to see. Okay. So let's try this. We already have our motion path, which is hashtag motion path. And I've already included the library for drawSVG here. So what was that one magic line of code for drawSVG? It kind of looked like this. Tween max. Now, I believe the one we did, we had like stagger from, but that was only because we were dealing with multiple paths. We're not dealing with multiple paths. We're just dealing with one path. So you could just use simple from to. Okay, so here's your hint. Here's from to. The from means you're going to specify the starting point, and the to is you're going to specify the last point. So here, I'll start it off for you. So let's say tween max from to motion path in the same 17 seconds. Your from will be drawSVG, and then you fill in what you filled in here. I'll leave that up to you. And then the second one is you fill in what belongs there. Did it work? Yeah, it worked. So what'd you do, Vivian, for the first drawSVG? What'd you put here? Yeah. Yep. Yes, I have to get rid of the display none on the CSS. Yes, you're right. Yeah, to make it a little bit centered. So what you could do is something like this. So before you have your tween max to plane, just before that, let's set some transform origins and all that. So you could say something like this. You could say tween max dot set plane, and then here in the options, you can say something like this. And this is the guy in the video said, use X% minus 50, Y% minus 50, or and I just, for the heck of it, now the guy in the video didn't do this, but I just, for the heck of it, just did this because I don't know. For some reason, it didn't quite work out for me, but like sometimes when it turns, you'll see that it still comes off the line. I don't know how to fix that, but whatever. It's the best I can do. So now you should be able to see that the plane is now centered, right? Now you notice my line, in my case, my line is actually traveling ahead of my plane. Question, how do you solve that? Let's put a delay on it. All right, so let's put a delay right here. So the drawSVG 100%, let's put a comma after that. Let's put a delay colon of 0.1 seconds, see if that does anything. Oh, they're still traveling. Oh, you know what? I have two different times here. I have 18 seconds here and 17 seconds. My bad. Never mind. There we go. So that's what it looks like with both 17 seconds long and one has a 0.1 second delay. Kind of cool, right? Okay, next little challenge for you to work on is in the Blackboard. It says here, add split text effect on the Indiana Jones text below. So you'll notice if you scroll down, there's this, I gave you a sentence here that I want you to use the split text. And I already gave you the library for it here, split text. So all you have to do is put the line of code or lines of code in there. So try that out for the next 5 minutes. Yeah? Good. See how easy GreenSock is? All right, Matt, what'd you say? Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, so do whatever you want. Yeah. Sure. So I'll change it. I'll change up a little bit of it. I'll say quote. Do I have my quote there? Yeah. Okay. And then between max dot stagger from my split text dot cars, maybe in 7 seconds, and we'll say opacity of 0, scale of 0, y 80, transform origin of 0%, 50%, and ease of elastic ease out 0.03. There you go. So here's my little split text effect that I changed some of the values for. Whoops, where'd it go? There it is. Let's see that again because I missed it. Oh, I should scroll down and I failed miserably. Okay. Anyways, whatever. And why is my browser like that now? Okay. So finally, submit your CodePen link. However, there is a bonus, which I'm debating whether to make that a requirement instead of a bonus because it's only 1 o'clock. So I think I'll make it a requirement and not a bonus, which is what I had originally. No? Oh, okay, fine. All right. All right, so you could submit your lab right now and get full marks, or you could try the bonus and use the remainder of class time to work on just the bonus. So again, the remainder of class time, you pretty much did all the code, right? I walked you through it. You don't have to do any original coding for this lab, just to give you a break. And we still have an hour. So if you want, you can use this hour to maybe start on your assignment 2. You know, fill in some of that JSON stuff. And I can come around to help with that. Or I can help with your lab 8 if you haven't submitted lab 8. I can help with that. But that is basically the end of my class. The only other thing I want to mention is my links, my free commercial thing here. So I think I mentioned this link last semester, but for those who are new, this link here, devfreebooks.github.io, has a bunch of free books on different languages, and it's free and it's legal. You also have this link here, proper use of animation. I actually used this last year as a guide for assignment number 2. I actually told people last year for assignment number 2, recreate one of these good ones. So this article basically says, here's the good way to do this, here's the bad way to do this, based on this principle. You know, there's another example here. You know, good, bad. So here it says, avoid using the bouncing effect since it distracts attention, kind of thing. So it's a good article for more principles on. Now that you know how to animate, I think you should know like the whys of when to animate. So that's where principles come in. And then the final thing here is this, and I mentioned this in my announcements, is that Val Head, one of the animation gurus, she writes a newsletter that you can subscribe to somewhere here. I put in the announcements. Where is it? Here, feel free to subscribe to the UI animation newsletter created by Val Head. So just to keep update as you graduate, you can keep stay updated on animation, the world of animation. And that is it, my friends. So with the rest of the time, try your hand at the bonus thing, or start your assignment 2, or lab 8. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. So this one right here? Okay, sure. Oh yeah, let me magnify this for you. So I will end the recording. If there's any other comments or questions, let me know before I end the recording. Any? No? Going once, going twice? Go on.